Okay, welcome everyone, and happy day to you. I'm Jason, and my boat Soul Seeker is on the hard in North Carolina, waiting desperately for our return. I just feel that. I feel like it's waiting desperately for us, not we're waiting desperately to get to it. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. You be the judge. And today I am representing some NFL fandom. So you'll have to give me that little tidbit. Now, here's what's funny though. My wife Leslie and I have been married 30 years, and we didn't sort this out before actually getting married. And she's a Seattle Seahawk fan coming from Seattle. I grew up in Central Valley, California, so it was the Niners or the Raiders. And since I like good teams, I went with the 49ers, and all the Raider fans out there can go ahead and kick rocks because we don't like you. No, we like you for sailing purposes, but not for NFL purposes. There you go. That's nice. But yeah, we didn't sort that out. So here we got a 49er fan and a Seahawk fan who've been married and figured it out. But we face each other today. So chaos in the Waltz family.
Yeah.
Aaron, let's take it over to you.
Yeah, so I got Seattle. I got
Oh my
Seattle.
God. How do I kick him out of here,
Yeah.
Patrick? Let me kick him out.
So yeah, I don't unfortunately or fortunately, I don't like any of the California teams. So or any of the New York teams for that matter. So
Fair enough.
so yeah. So my name is Aaron. I'm from Extraordinary Horizons. Like Jason mentioned, my big old girl is waiting to get herself splashed in the water. We are rounding the last corner. Thank goodness. Thank God. Thank goodness.
Let's go.
Um, yeah, and then we will get her in the water and we will figure it out from there. She's a 65-foot custom catamaran. We've been working on her for the last couple of years to renovate, refurbish, refit. Was a major refit. Was a lot more major than we thought it was going to be, but I think that that's par for the course for boating. Um, so I mean, I'm down here in South Florida. I'm sitting here in a t-shirt and shorts. I know I'm sorry for those up north. But yesterday we had 30 something degrees here and it was freezing cold. So today we're going to enjoy the sunshine. So
Now, Patrick, when he says 30 degrees, he's talking Fahrenheit, right? Like,
cold.
Yeah,
Not
no,
not
30 is a
not
nice,
30
is a
degrees
nice.
centigrade, which is like 30 degrees centigrade I think is around 80ish or something Celsius, and that's
I
pretty
think
warm.
it's
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, over to you,
So,
Patrick.
thanks very much. Yes, I'm Patrick. I'm from South Africa, where I have no idea what NFL is or does or what it means or anything. All I know is
oh,
that we're the
Aaron,
best
how do
in the
I kick
world.
him out? Dang it. I'm going to do this one solo today.
Yeah, when you say
We're the world
when you say
champions
football,
at
Patrick.
rugby, which is a real sport for men who don't
Oh,
use armor and helmets and all the rest. So that's our game. I live on Electra, our little sailing electric boat, which we converted to a solar powered boat, and it's been 3 seasons now that we've lived on board, and it's been a lot
wow.
of fun. We're now based in Europe. The last year, well, now we're in Greece. We're going to spend the year in Greece.
Well, that's so wonderful. I want to welcome everyone to the show. If my red outfit offends you, I'm so sorry, but hopefully you'll stick around. And hopefully the Niners will stick around. Now, for those of you who are thinking about commenting today, and I'm hoping there will be a lot, I want to invite you to a little bit of a game. Okay. Now, I don't know if the guys, if Aaron and Patrick caught this in our chat, leading up to today's episode, but we're talking about Patrick's topic today. So I don't want to spill the beans or reveal anything, but as you get going in this episode, if you want to call BS or you just think that the numbers are outlandish,
They very well
then
could.
I invite you to call us out in the comments and we'll splash them up here. We'll talk about them. You can rib us pretty good. Heck, you can even call out my NFL team, but I definitely will not put that on this show. I'm not gonna share that comment. But all teasing aside, if you wanna call foul on our estimates, because Aaron and I, we're estimating, and we're going to get into what's actually going on there. But Patrick is given more hard numbers. And if you haven't seen Patrick's most recent episode, he had just launched yesterday. And there was a little bit of a break there. He's been on hiatus. I was looking for a notification from Sailing Electra for about a month and a half or more. And finally, one showed up, and I watched it, and it was fantastic. And he had to go and show all this amazing footage from all of his anchorages, and it just made me go, I want to get there again. Let's do this. So, without any further ado, let's lead into our reminder about kind of, hey, these are our projects, and we invite you to use them as inspiration, but we're in no way, shape, or form suggesting that these are hard, fast things that we're going to guarantee for you. Those are your projects. We want to hear about them because I'm pretty sure they're certainly awesome, but we're not guaranteeing anything. So, without any further ado, Patrick, take it away.
Excellent. Well, okay. So for many years in my life, I've been very interested in personal finance, and part of the reason for that was because I always wanted to go sailing and live on a sailboat and do all of these cool things, and my job kind of got in the way. So I was always preparing to be able to live without an income. So basically, have enough passive income or enough investments to basically keep me going. COVID kicked in, which meant I was able to work from home, and it brought things forward a little bit. But now things have actually gone back onto their original track. And so from last year, I'm no longer working and living on my investments, which I've saved up diligently for the last 21 years that I've been working. No, sorry, 23 years that I've been working. And now I'm putting it to a real test. And so what I really wanted to know is how much money have I actually been spending on this whole sailing
Mm.
lifestyle? It's been 3 years now. And to be honest, I didn't really know because when you've got this, salary coming into your account every month, you spend things and money comes in to replace money that's gone out. And so you don't always quite know what's going on and what things really cost. So this episode is all about the costs of living on a sailboat. And we've been keeping track for the last 3 years now of what we've spent, but I've never done the hard work and add things up and put things into categories and see where all that money goes. But that's what this episode is all about.
Yeah. So I think you mentioned you've never done the hard work. A lot of people, even living land life, it is hard work, but a lot of people, you know what, they're scared to know.
Yeah.
They're scared to know what they're spending. So they just push it under the rug and avoid it. It's
And hope for
always
the
nice.
best.
Yeah, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, and sometimes you
Yeah.
can be surprised whether good or bad of what you're really spending and what you're spending it on. And I think, I mean, maybe you don't need to do these hard costs every month, and be like anal about it, but it's probably good to do it every now and then to spot check what you're doing just to make sure you're
Yeah.
not bleeding
Yeah,
somewhere.
and I think that's going to be the key for you and me, Aaron, is honestly right now we're guessing. We are predicting. We are, what'd you call it? It was federal what?
So it's what the federal government does when they estimate what something's going to cost. It's federal estimation budgeting, which is basically bullshit budgeting. Yeah, I mean, because that's why you see projects pausing and stopping and having to be done. Like we have a road here. I'm not going to go like on a tangent, but we have a road here that they've been building for 10 years, and
Yeah,
they stop and start and stop and start, and now 10 years later they're finished. Well, it's time to widen the road again because
right.
everything's changed so much that they didn't forecast. So
Perpetual
now they have to
expenses.
go. Yeah, and it happens everywhere all the time. So I think the federal government doesn't really account for a lot of different things that they probably should. But
Well, and
that's
so
not
I want that very clear as we get into this slideshow and as we start talking about these numbers. For Patrick, he's dealing with more reflecting
real.
on experiences with actual numbers. With Aaron and myself, you're getting a lot of like our land based, like Patrick was talking about, where we've got incomes and we've got a job and we've got, land expenses. So we're kind of gauging based off of that and adjusting accordingly. I spent a month out on the water, but that's not hardly enough to get a real idea. And
Your honeymoon.
so, like,
That
a
was a
lot of
honeymoon.
it is for Aaron and myself, kind of what you'd call guesstimating or estimating, whatever, projecting. And so Patrick's is going to be more the real figures that are easy to point. He can point to actual, budget lines and everything within him and Candace's budgets. Aaron and we're guessing, but educated guessing, like experience guessing. I think some of the things like docking and stuff like that we'll get into, that's he and I kind of guessing. But for
Yeah.
things like provisions,
Yeah.
well, it's a little more accurate because you're talking about your grocery shopping bill, right? And
Yeah.
so keep that in mind as we get going in this. Aaron, any other clarifiers before we
Yeah.
dive into the slideshow?
So I think with Jason and I, in comparison to Patrick, you're gonna find one category here, and I'm not gonna spill the beans, but if you're a U.S. person as opposed to a European person or a South African person, at least in my perspective, shocked. You're going to be shocked when you really look at the hard numbers as what's going on here.
I feel like
And
there's
what
some
could
beans
be
spilling.
a lot.
Beans are spilling.
Yeah, you want me to spill? You want me to spill?
No. Let's wait till we get there.
We'll go through it.
All right, yeah. So that's it. I mean, you're going to be shocked. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and dive in. I think Patrick's just primed and ready. He is ready to just dive in. Patrick, that's a beautiful tile. Take it away.
All right. So this was AI production, of course, of what things look like on the water, and I've never actually seen somebody eating while they're sailing, but it does happen occasionally. Maybe not on a monohull, more likely on a catamaran.
Right.
And
Looks like
I
he's
think
at
we should
anchor,
just
but
jump
that
straight
main
into
sail is up, isn't it?
the mainsail is up, but not the foresail.
Right.
Which is you see a lot of boats in the Med doing that actually because the mainsail takes work, so they put it up before they leave, and it's self-tax, so it's not a big deal. So it is quite a common view of boats. Just to give you some background, so my wife and I use an app called Splitwise to share costs. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Splitwise. It's something I used to use at work, and that when you go on work trips and there's like 6 of you, and instead of trying to keep track of who's spending what, this app is great. So that's how I adopted that into our home life, and that's where I get the numbers from. So every time we go to a grocery store, it doesn't matter who pays, you just stick it on Splitwise, and you can kind of balance out the spending at the end of the month.
Okay, so it's called
Anyway.
Split, SPLIT, Wise.
Yeah. What's that? Jason, send that to the group. I don't have a pen in front of me to write it down.
It's a very neat little app. So it's mostly used for when people go on trips together or they do stuff. You go on holiday with 3 friends, or you go on a work trip and there's 6 of you, and it just means that you can each pay for a dinner every night, and then at the end of the trip you see, I owe you $10 and you owe me $6, and then we're all square, and that's quite cool.
All right, perfect.
Interesting. Okay, so give me just a moment because I'm going to put it up there.
I see it up there. Yeah,
it's
actually,
up. Yeah.
Let's see if this is correct here. I think, will that work? No, that won't work because I'm just sharing my window.
It's up.
I'm going to put it out in the link, but let's dive in here because that sounds really cool. But I'll put that in the description as well.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, Patrick, tell us about this first one. What are we talking about with the slide? Start us out with the slide.
All right, so we're going to split things up into boat costs and life costs. So boat costs and living costs. I think most people know what living costs are all about, but boat costs are a little bit different or a little bit new to most people. 5 major categories: insurance, repairs and maintenance, bureaucracy, which is basically anytime you're going to pay money just to be on the water. So you're paying license fees to get your registration renewed, or you're paying cruising fees in a country, or you're paying visa costs to get into a country, or things like that. That all falls under bureaucracy. Dockage is an overall category. Do you spend time in a marina? Do you spend your winter on the hard, and you pay for the odd night in a marina or on a mooring ball and that while you're moving around? And then fuel, everyone knows what fuel is. So this is the combination of all the fuel you'd use on the boat. So for your dinghy, for your boat, for your stove to cook with, the whole lot.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's dive in. We've got insurance numbers. And those are coming on the screen now. Go ahead and let's have each time it comes in for each row. Since we have Electra is the first column, Patrick, you'll lead,
Yeah.
then Aaron, then I'll wrap it up before we move to the next one.
Yep.
Great. Okay, so we've got comprehensive insurance for our boats, and that means that if I sink my boat, somebody will pay me for the money of the boat. Now, our boat is quite cheap. It's probably only valued at sort of the maybe $30,000 around about that range. So it's just quite inexpensive. But I have got another insurance in there as well, which is something we call Sea Help in Europe, which is kind of like, I think it's like a breakdown service like Boat US would be. And I'm counting that as well. Unfortunately, they don't cover Greece, or maybe it's fortunately. So at least 20 of those dollars over there is going to vanish because I won't have Sea Help going forward. But in this year, it's included. So I think Sea Help was about $22 of that, and the rest was my regular insurance policy.
So did you mention you're not going to have Sea Help going forward?
Well, there's no Sea Help in Greece, so there'd
Okay.
be no point in having it.
Yep.
You can pay for a tow-in, or you can. I think there's an Ionian side rescue that will also help you. But what a lot of the boaters do is they just put out a call for help and hope another boat will come in and help them. Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. Got it. Cool. So you want me to go?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So $45 a month is based on quite different than Patrick's, is based on liability coverage only. These are the some of the quotes that I've gotten. Again, this is federal estimation-ish kind of stuff. It's nothing that's been put in practice yet. So it's basically just
BS. Excuse me.
It's a hypothesis, right? It's an educated guess. So $45 a month. What I didn't do though is I didn't put CTO or Boats US, or I didn't factor that in. So that, I mean, again,
Sure.
this is all learning. So yeah, that would be that for me.
Yeah, for mine, here's the thing. I have a bone to pick with the insurance industry as a whole. I really dislike the fact that it feels like, oh, extortion. I would think extortion's a better word for it than insurance. And I have very strong opinions. I don't mind talking about them. But yeah, like for example, when we went to insure our boat, it was in North Carolina, still is. And when we went to buy the boat initially, the boatyard contacted us and said, "Well, that's great. You're the new owner. We need you to have us as a rider on your insurance policy, and you need to have blah, 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 all these things because that's the way they set the rules." And so I was like, "Oh, okay, let me go scramble and find insurance. Surely it's not that hard." Oh, no, it was really hard. And North Carolina is kind of the northern part of the hurricane zone for the eastern seaboard. And they really, over that last big hurricane, had a lot of claims. And so this is why I think it's extortion. It's no longer a service because they were like, yeah, we're not issuing new policies for anything that's bigger than 35 feet. I'm
You're
like,
30. You're 37, yeah?
I'm 37. And do you know that I'm one of the smallest boats in the boatyard? Like, this is ridiculous. How are you telling me there's no insurance policy you're going to float for this? I went through 25 different insurance providers and I got two two companies that were willing to extend a quote. One of them was $350 a month. The other was $35 a month. Tell me how, in a regulated industry that is compulsory from our government, that I have to have insurance on this vessel, tell me how there can be a multiple of 10
Very.
difference between two exact same policies. That is extortion. That is you making up numbers and floating them out there to see what sticks. And so my diatribe's over. I went with the cheaper one. But yeah, you're going to hear me talk a lot this episode, I think, about insurance. But that said, there's my numbers, and
Is that
those are real numbers. Actually, those were the real ones.
is that liability or is that full coverage?
Oh, are you kidding me? That's liability.
Okay, cool.
If we went into comprehensive, oh
Yeah,
my
so
God, this would be
I
$8
can give
million.
I can give you a little bit of insight into why Patrick is paying $54 and he's in Europe because it's a known fact that US, we're a risk. Like apparently we're a risk in the insurance industry for frivolous claims, and frivolous claims basically shoot the premiums up. So they the European insurance companies have a very difficult time extending quotes to U.S. boats, to U.S. To U.S. registered boats. So what some people do is, which is sad, but you got to do what you got to do, is they re-register their boat either in Europe or the Marshall Islands or some other Channel Islands or some other place, because it's more favorable for the U.S. insurance companies. Or you could go to another European, because European companies aren't going to write insurance for a U.S. based boat. They're just not going to do it because we're risky. So if you take that U.S. boat and you re-register it somewhere else, even though it's still a U.S. boat and it's still a U.S. owner, it's really not, because it becomes a company then. That's a company based in other places, a front, right? So then you can get all of these European companies to extend you a quote, which are a lot more favorable than a U.S. company. It's extortion. I mean, it's manipulation, supply and demand, extortion, whatever.
It's the Godfather. They're giving us an offer we can't refuse, and you got the government going, they're right, you can't refuse it.
It's required for the most part. It's required, right?
Now let me ask you this, Patrick, since we are talking differences between Europe and America here, United States of America. If I were to file a claim, I'm even going to take auto insurance as an example. That's one I think most would be able to relate to. But if I file a claim in Europe, how likely am I to see a radical increase in my premiums, or even dropping my policy altogether and saying we won't renew you?
Look, I don't think they'll drop your policy. I think there will be an increase. And I had a boat hit me this year in the marina. I wasn't there.
Remember that. That was scary. Oh.
They did quite a good job. Yeah, not too much, no real damage, mostly cosmetics. But anyway, I called my insurance company because that's what they're there for. And I said, look, you can claim it on your policy, but your premium will go up. So that's normal. But because somebody else hit me, every other boat has to have liability insurance. And so they'll have liability insurance, and they helped me claim on their policy, which was great. I don't know how much my policy would go up, and I've never owned a car in Europe, so I don't know that one either.
Well,
but in
I
South
do
Africa,
know that how much it goes up here is it'll almost double. You know, like your premium will be extortion. Like that's what it really feels like. It's not just me being salty. I am salty, but it's not just that. I'm salty because there is salt. And this is okay.
Right. So basically, you're not really asking the insurance company to stick their neck out. You're asking them to pay you your money back that you've been paying in premiums to basically fix your boat or fix your house or fix your car. So like homeowners insurance is the same. Like if you have to get a new roof and you've been paying for all these years in insurance, and now you've got to get a roof. It's required, or else they're not gonna renew you.
But at these premiums, you've already paid for that roof 3 times over.
And then they don't want to. I'm sure I don't have any experience with boat insurance yet, but I'm probably much of the same. It's like you're fighting me to make a claim to basically force you to do what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, and give me some of my money to basically fix my boat from the premium that I've been paying. Oh, we don't have any money. Or let me make you jump through all of these hoops. Like we could go on and on. The insurance is probably a hot topic on here.
Well, here's the thing. Patrick did not call this episode "Let's Gripe About Insurance."
Right, let's move on.
So we should move on, but he did put insurance on there. So he said the I word, and that was like, oh, buckle up, Buttercup, because I got things to say. All right, let's move on here to repairs and maintenance. Patrick, tell us what you mean by this.
So this is everything from painting your boat with anti-fouling to replacing your bilge pump because it died during the year, to buying a new pressure washer because you didn't buy a water-cooled model for your your water maker and you bought an air-cooled model instead, and that died. These are all the things I spent on my maintenance costs.
I was going to say, I feel like
To
you're saying
anyone
this
else.
from experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I've got a special one as well because I bought a new sail and I've got new rigging on my boat, and that deteriorates every year. But it doesn't look like it's a yearly expense. And I didn't want to put it every 10 years. I've added that into my repairs and maintenance budget just as a buffer so that when the time comes for new rigging, it's there. So I've tried to be quite accurate on what those things are.
Yep.
And I know we're going to show the figures.
Yes, here we go.
Yeah. And any other parts you buy is obviously in the repairs and maintenance as well.
Yep.
All right, so those are my real figures. Mine are probably going to be higher because I've allocated. Let me just go back to my spreadsheet. For my rigging, I've allocated $300 a year for rigging because it's going to cost me about $3,000 to get that sorted out. And for my sales, I've allocated $500 a year. Sales are expensive. It's probably the most expensive way to move your boat around uh, really slowly if you work on sort of dollar per knot per mile. It's very pricey. So I've got $500, $580 a year for sales. And then my boat is painted. It's not gel coated anymore. And once you paint a boat, you're stuck. You're painting your boat every 5 years. So I've built that into my cost as well, which wasn't too bad. That's like 111 euros. But yeah, so that's the total when you add it all up and you divide by 12. Now, there is a theory in boating that you're going to spend 10% of the value of your vessel every year. And it's fortunately doesn't look like it's true for me. I've been 3 years on my boat and I've spent 6.2% per year if I include all of those numbers, which is not a bad number. I think it's pretty decent. But yeah, that's what it's actually come to. I do have to say one thing. A lot of people spend a lot of money on their engines, keeping them running well. And if you've got two diesel engines and a catamaran and a sail and two sail drives, you spend an absolute fortune. I mean, the numbers the guys have been telling me about. One guy had to do the second lot of work on his sail drive, and he spent $6,000.
Oh my.
That destroys your budget. That completely wrecks it. So
Yep.
I think if you're on a diesel boat, you probably are going to get closer to the 10% figure, maybe even higher. But being electric, the sum of my maintenance on my motors for the last 3 years was cleaning off the algae that formed on the edge because it hung in the water. That's been
Yeah.
it.
Aaron.
So my my costs of maintaining our boat are going to be probably substantially lower than they should be for quite a while. Why? Because we put a shit ton of money in now, and we're building it bigger, stronger, and better than it was before. So it's kind of cheating a little bit because we're skewing all of the numbers. Like some people are going to say, "Oh my God, you got a 65-foot power catamaran with two diesel motors. How are you only going to spend $200 a month in maintenance?" Well, here's why. Because like I just said, we're spending a lot of money up front. Like you're gonna pay now or pay later. So we're spending a lot of money up front to basically build really simple systems in the boat. We're running on 2 4-cylinder normally aspirated diesel engines that are mechanical diesels. So there's no computer. There's none of this really expensive stuff to break. It's easy to fix. It's going to hold up better, which is one of the reasons why we decided to go forward with this particular platform. Like we have a really large platform, like it's a really large boat, really large platform. But really the systems inside of that really large platform are relatively simple. Like we're running Patrick type systems and Jason's type systems in a really big float, in a really big barge, right? In a really big platform. So as we go through all this stuff, your mileage may vary or will vary if you're on a larger boat. So don't think you're going to go out there and get a Lagoon 45 and have $200 a month maintenance, because you're not going to do that. Like Patrick just said, somebody spent $6,000 to do
refurb a sail drive, yeah.
a sail drive rebuild or replacement. And there's another channel out there, Parlay Revival. Like I'm watching him right now in Malaysia, and he's in a world of hurt right now. Like he's got a lot going on, and he's been traveling a lot. And when you travel a lot, stuff breaks. So yeah, I mean he's in a bigger platform with like a lot of newer technology things. When the newer technology things are great when technology works, but when it doesn't, it's expensive to fix.
Yeah.
So,
It makes me think about, like you're bringing up other channels, and it makes me think, have either of you seen the New Kids on the Dock?
Absolutely.
Are you following them at all?
Absolutely.
Oh my. So their most recent episode, they're really diving in. Like they dumpster dove to get sales. And I went and ran the numbers on that. And I'm like, good Lord, that was like 20 grand in value, even torn, shredded like they were, that they're able to then recoup, even sewing those up and using them for a single season. That's worthwhile.
Yep.
But the amount of money that those motors, those engines are costing to rebuild, even doing it with buddy help, the way that they've done, like it's just astronomical. And I think about all the servicing, and I like to reference a lot the Boomer Shines. He just went through an episode where he was reservicing all of his motors, both his engines. I think they call them Peaches and Cream. It's good names. And I'm like, good Lord, the amount of work, but also the amount of money that's going into that is astronomical. And that's part of the reason, if I jump back here to the slideshow, where like I'm estimating at 100. Some of that is going to be, I realize there's going to be times that, oh my, there's a $500 service cost to replace props or whatever.
Not every month.
But that's not every month. And so I'm banking on about that. Will I need to fudge those a little higher given circumstances? Maybe. And so for me, it was a decent estimate. I could imagine that doubling to 200 at some point, but I felt like that was a fair amount once everything's set and in place.
Well, I mean, you're only going to know that by OJT, right? On the job training, basically
Right.
by experience. You can't, it's very difficult to, like when we're looking at Patrick's numbers, we're looking at real data, right? That's real data. I know I saw his spreadsheet. I know he's got a spreadsheet with real data. I don't have a spreadsheet with real data yet because I don't have any real data.
Ours are all projections right now, and that's fine. That's what you do when you're in our state in this whole transition process. Like this is a lifestyle change. So your land-based budgeting has to be used as prior knowledge, but it's a totally different lifestyle. And so it's gonna evolve.
I mean, here's the thing, just while we're here. So right now, Jason and I live in a house, right? And I live in a house in Florida where there's what we call homeowners association. So to be a part of a homeowners association, there's certain other extortions that go with that, where you have to have a certain insurance, where you have to have a $300,000 liability or blah, blah, blah. Some things you have to have these things. So, I have to pay homeowners insurance. I have to pay homeowners fees. I have to pay property insurance. I have to pay, and then that's just the have to pays. And then you got lawn service, you got water, you got all these things that also here in Florida, I don't know how it is in Missouri. We can do a grid tie system with electric, meaning that we share the cost we share a little bit of the cost with the electric company, but we can't have an off the grid system.
Not if you're in town.
It's illegal. We can't really have a way to make water. You have to be tied into the water because this is how the government makes their money. So on a boat, like one of the largest draws for us is freedom, right? So you can make your own power, you can collect rainwater, you can have a water maker, you can do these things. So, I mean, keep that in mind. We are going to decrease our costs, probably, most likely, substantially, moving on to even a 65-foot power catamaran. So go ahead.
Well, no,
give you some
similar here in Missouri. I'm sorry.
The fact that you don't have sails and rigging and the fact that you don't have diesel engines is really counting in your favor.
Yeah.
Those are sort of the two biggest expenses on any boat. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Patrick, let's segue to bureaucracy because that's another one that I'm
Yeah.
not triggered by at all. That's a word that doesn't cause any feelings at all.
Before I do this, one last point in the repairs and maintenance, I didn't hire anyone in the last year. So this is all when you get somebody to your boat with tools in his hand, he charges you an absolute fortune. So if you
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
can make friends with people and learn to do it yourself, that's a huge saving as well.
Absolutely. Did you wait a minute? Let's rewind and say that again. Like, shall we say it together? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why? Yep.
Anyway, jumping into bureaucracy. So bureaucracy is basically anything you've got to pay to be on your boat on the water. So my boat, I was very lucky, is registered in Poland, and there's no annual fees to re-register your boat, or no licensing fees ever. You get a little card, you keep it for life, which is
Let's
What a
go
fantastic.
racket!
Poland.
What a racket!
Yeah, Polish boats, fantastic. It's a little loophole that not too many people know about. Most other countries will charge you every year, or the UK charges you every 2 years, but I don't have that. I do have to pay to be on the water though. So in Italy, we didn't have to pay, which was very nice. In Croatia, there was a license fee. It was about $280 a year for me. And in Greece, I paid 25 euros a month. The nice thing about these fees is they don't care that I'm a catamaran. So unlike docking, where it really matters if you've got one hull or two, sailing on the water didn't matter to me as well. So that's my bureaucracy. There might be some other types of bureaucracy. You might be in a place where you're crossing borders and you've got to go and stamp in and stamp out and pay visa
Oh
fees
yeah.
and pay those
Like,
sorts of
I'm
things.
telling
I don't.
you,
Yeah,
one of the things that we looked into was, hey, maybe after our great loop run, once we get
yeah,
down past the tip of Florida, maybe we jump across to the Bahamas. And then you go look at the
yeah.
Bahamas fees, like they have just
Yeah.
they've
Yep.
lost their ever loving minds.
Yeah. I think
Like,
that, like, on a good note, I think that they are seeing that they've lost their minds,
yeah.
and they're rethinking it, and I think that they're gonna rethink it
I
back
think
to
they're
maybe.
gonna have to. Their economy's gonna collapse.
Well, they've lost, like, there's some statistics out there that they have lost between 40 and 50% of their business since they changed
Oh
the
yeah.
the
Good.
fees. Like, now it's extortion now. Like, welcome to the United States.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like they're gonna change back. Jason, you got to put up Patrick's bureaucracy number there.
Yeah,
Oh,
let's
yeah,
go
you go.
ahead. Well,
Show
we're
the
gonna
numbers.
drop all three. They come in all three
Oh,
together.
all
So
right, all
here we
right.
go.
Didn't know. Yeah. Welcome.
Yeah.
Well,
So
welcome to bureaucracy and anywhere else other than the United States. But
There you go.
yeah.
So my next year is going to be just 25 euros a month, but only for the 6 months where the boat's in use. In Greece, they don't charge you when the boat is on
Sus,
land.
man.
So I'll be spending about half that next year.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get with Patrick and figure out this registration thing because we pay here. You can either pay by the year or by the 2 years to hold the registration for your boat. I don't know. I don't know how it is in Missouri, but in the state of Florida, you can buy a 1 year or 2 year registration, and then basically, of course, they're going to pay. They're going to charge you tax on the on the value of the boat. So yeah, and we don't get a 6 month reprieve if we pull the boat off of the water.
There is no reprieve. The tax
No.
man cometh. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to figure out if the loophole is a loophole that can be done without getting in trouble. Because there's definitely more favorable ways to do things rather than giving your money to a silent partner that doesn't do any work. So, yeah.
Well,
But-
listen, I don't want to come off like I'm anti-taxes. Taxes go towards some great things.
Sure.
And that's fine. What I don't love is when you get taxed every single time you turn around for something you've already paid taxes on.
Get double
When you
taxed.
bought it, you paid taxes on it. When you registered it, you paid taxes again on it every year going forward. That's just ridiculous, and it's something that's honestly, let's rewind to the Boston Tea Party, shall we? Like, when did those colonial Americans go, enough's enough? We're done here.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not espousing let's go to another revolution, but let's find ways that we can do this where it's less extortionistic, shall
Sure.
we?
And it's sad that I'm gonna have to talk to Patrick to find a better way,
Yeah.
because I shouldn't have to do that. So,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna protect myself. I'm gonna find what's best for myself,
Yeah.
because I'm my own
So,
best advocate, and nobody's gonna protect me,
Well, I
right?
will say that the nice thing for us with the Great Loop in particular is we have a U.S. Coast Guard registered vehicle, and you do not need in the U.S. to register that with a state. The dinghy does have to be registered, and so it used to be apparently that I've read. You did not have to, so long as it was the dinghy attached to that vehicle and you're within certain distance of that vehicle. So like my dinghy
yeah.
has got to be within a certain range to Soul Seeker, then you wouldn't have to register it. That's changed, and
Well, we're
so
we're U.S. We're Coast Guard registered too.
yeah. And so, I mean, you do have the fees for that. Those aren't the end of the world compared to what you do with your state
Sure.
taxes.
Yep.
But then on top of that, like we don't have to pay to go interstate. Like if I wanted, when I go from North Carolina to Virginia, for example, and we go up to Chesapeake,
You're free to
I
go.
don't
Yeah.
have to pay Virginia money for being there.
No.
When we jump over into the Chesapeake, Delaware canal, there's no cost to go through that, even through the locks and all that. Like
You
all
can
that's fine.
you can travel. There's no tolls, right? You can
Correct.
travel. You can travel through the entire United States of America,
Yeah.
basically, for the fee that you paid to for the year with
Yeah.
the tax and registration, which is
Yeah.
good. I mean,
Which
it's a
that's
good.
nice. And so I feel like we've kind of talked the bureaucracy side of this one. I mean, if you go if you go to the Bahamas, you're going to get just ramrodded over that. If you go to the U.S. Virgin Islands, then you're actually fine down there. If you're a U.S. citizen, I don't know what they charge if Patrick were to jump across the pond. I would love to. Would you? I don't know. We'll talk about that some other day.
Yeah.
But the fact that you've got to go through Bahamian waters to get to the U.S. Virgin Islands, that's a questionable thing. I don't know. So enough of that. Let's go to dockage. Patrick, what are we talking about there?
So whenever your boat need, whenever you need to pay to park your boat, basically, is your dockage. So anchorages are free. I love anchorages. There are some paid anchorages in Europe as well, if you're in national parks and that. But typically, an anchorage is free, and you pay for being on town piers. You pay for being in marinas, obviously, and we pay for mooring balls a lot in Croatia as well. But also, I park my boat either on land or in a marina for winter. There's always one or the other. So in my year, actually, because I did a calendar year, I had some of the previous winter and some of the current winters. So I've got 4 months on land in my dockage fee, and I've got 2 months on water in my dockage fee, which adds up to my 6 months winter period, all added up in there. Should we jump to the numbers? There we go. So that's the average over a month, but typically all of my numbers came in winter. I spend about 500 a month, so about $3,000 to park my boat for a month in winter. And I spent another 15 days on
Aaron, is Patrick going out on us?
Yeah, I thought it was me, but yeah, he is.
sorry,
Patrick,
am I
will you
back in?
restate that a little bit?
Okay, so I spent 18 days not on anchor in the previous season, which was pretty good. And I had to pay for those 18 days. On average, they were about $50 a day, but the cheapest I had was $20, and the most expensive I had was $90.
Wow.
Um, I I did it in this year because I wasn't quite sure how much I could trust my anchor, and the safest places were typically places you could pay to tie up. But now I trust my anchor a lot. I don't worry too much about that. I'd rather just choose a safe anchorage. But yeah,
Yeah.
so that's my average over a month. But you could actually take that number and say, okay, well, you only really pay it in bulk at the beginning of the year and the end of the year when you're doing your winter parking, and the rest of the year it's quite cost effective. You could take it almost down to nothing if you're willing to live on anchor over winter. I know a few people who do that, but we're not doing that. Yeah.
All right, so my number is pretty low. I can explain why it's low, or I may be just dreaming. But my number is low because I'm going to be spending pretty much all of the time at anchor. We're not going to be in winter. We're going to make sure that we're not traveling in places that are cold. And if the places that are cold, they're not going to be cold enough to have to, move into a Airbnb or something like that. We're going to be able to be self-sustainable. We're not going to do any northern runs that we're going to be in like icebergs in the water type of stuff, or colder than we like. I'm a born and bred South Floridian, and when it goes down into the 30s sometimes here, which is not very much, 1 or 2 days a year, we basically grit and bear it and get by. So we're not going to be going into any of the cold climates. So all of our experience adventures are going to be living on anchor. At least that's what we're striving for. So I want to push hard and fast for that. So that's why I'm keeping my numbers low. Like I said, could be dreaming, but we'll see as we go.
Out of curiosity, have you ever done a quote to see what a night in a marina would be like? Say there's a big storm coming and you have to get a boat into a marina?
Yeah, probably like about 180 a night. Yeah.
Okay.
So
you've got
$3 a foot.
You coupled up $2-3 a foot, $2 or $3 a foot. But like the temperature, those nights of the big storms, knock on wood, they're not plentiful, right? They're few and far between. So to include that as an insurance to basically just inflate your numbers, I don't think that's a good practice.
Just spend as much money as you need to on an anchor, because you can see how much it saves you whenever you don't need to go to a dock.
Yeah, good point.
It's kind of like you pay now or pay later, right? It's kind of like the rebuild on our boat. We're spending a good amount of money now so that our thought process is so that we don't have to spend all these monies as we go.
I'll tell you, with our numbers, I mean, it all comes down to cost per foot here in the States, at least. And so there was one night that we stayed that was $1 per foot. I was like, this is awesome. We could do this every night.
Yeah.
They're so rare and few and far between. We do have free docks in some of the towns along the Great Loop, but they do come with trade-offs. So, for example, last week, the Boomer Shines episode where, they stayed at a free town dock. And what'd you get? You had riffraff who were throwing plastic bottles on their boat and harassing the wife and kids. Like there's your trade-off.
So also, like Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, on a free dock, it's free, right? So the maintenance of that dock probably isn't the best because it's free. Right. So I'm visualizing my mind, the deck boards and the pylons are not going to be.
I think it kind of depends. Our next decent sized town that we'll encounter after we splash in June is Elizabeth City, North Carolina. And they're called what do they call themselves? The Harbor of Hospitality.
Yeah.
And they have expansive free docks. You should look it up. It's really cool. But their docks are free and are in great condition. But I think you're right. The general rule would be that they're going to be inferior quality.
Yeah, free is
but
not
for us. I've run at just estimating $3 a foot, which we're a 37-foot catamaran, so my numbers are averaged here. But if we did 10% of the month staying at a marina, so we're looking at roughly $300 a month. Yep. And so again, since we're estimating our numbers with, what'd you call it again? Federal estimates?
Yeah.
Since we're running federal estimates instead of Patrick's real numbers, that's where we went. Well, let's dive into fuel, shall we?
Yep. So fuel. So anytime anything's burning, basically, you're burning diesel, you're burning petrol for your dinghy, you're cooking with gas, or you've got a diesel heater, or I've even met a couple of steel boats. I've got a little wood fire stove in the corner. It looks brilliant. That's your fuel cost. And we're very lucky on Electra because everything is electric. There is no fuel bill. Zero.
Whoa. I'm going to call you on that one as a fellow electric enthusiast. You are burning electrons. You are burning those electrons
too. Yeah.
Well, I look at it like this. You're going to pay now or you're going to pay later. So you do have costs, but your costs happen at the beginning with buying.
Yes, with the purchase of the solar panels.
and batteries.
I'm
Yes.
Or
guilty.
if you plug into shore power, there, let's remember that.
Okay, so I've never plugged my boat into shore power, but in the next category we are going to get into other costs, and there were some electricity costs, but it wasn't for my boat.
Yeah, okay, well, I had to call the other side of the EV argument there. Like, you are
Sure.
burning
Yeah.
something.
Well, I mean, it's the same. It's the same side as the sailing argument. What they say they're traveling the world, for
Yeah.
free, from like
Yeah. Yeah.
powered by the wind, but
Not
they're
free.
they're
It's the
not.
most expensive free I've ever heard of.
They're
Yeah.
not.
My
They're
boat's
not.
a
I
small
mean,
sails, and
yeah, I mean, they're not. Basically, they're paying for the cost up front to have the glory of free as they go. But
Well,
go
as I
ahead.
put these numbers up there, I want to remind our viewers, throw into the chat in the comments if you call BS on any of these numbers, you beg to differ. We'd love to hear from you. And also, if you just want to add your own expenses or things that you wanted to share from your real expenses, we'd love to hear from that as well. But let's toss these numbers up there because they're pretty insightful. I love it.
Yep.
All right, Patrick, take it away.
well, I mean, electric boats, solar powered boats, the entire season we don't need any fuel. You know, the sun shines, you wake up a few hours later, your batteries are full, you go somewhere, you arrive there, and your batteries are full again before the sun goes down, which is brilliant, and it is the perfect way to run a boat. And we cook on electric as well. We make water with electric, so there's no other costs involved at all.
And
Yeah.
I had to
So
put the little wind icon in there because you're solar and wind, which
yeah.
is an advantage. I love that.
Yeah, so mine, this may be another dreaming category, but it's definitely something that we're striving towards. We're running two little four-cylinder, normally aspirated diesels, so our fuel costs are going to be substantially less to somebody that, in comparison to somebody that's running like a 12V 12-cylinder motors or 8-cylinder motors. Those things are are diesel hogs for sure. So in combination with having a kite, or I'm still hell bent on trying to figure out how to put some sort of sail up with a short mast or shorter mast, to figure out how to. I'm trying to be able to keep my costs low, right? Keep my costs low. I want to have
Sure.
that big. I want to have that big platform. I want to have my cake and eat it too. So I want to have that bigger platform, but I want to be able to keep my costs low. And that's the whole going into this. That was the whole. That's a whole experiment, right? It's going into this. I'm trying to figure out how to keep my costs as low as I can. Could I fail miserably? Absolutely, but I'm going to die trying.
Love it. Our boat has been largely inspired by Electra, and so stands to reason that our costs are going to follow because we're solar powered. We've got just over 4 kilowatts total of electricity. That's when the sun shines, we do cool things, and that's really the message behind Soul Seeker is, hey, take that sunshine, chase that sunshine, and do cool things in the process. One of those cool things is we're able to fuel our boat. And so the twin e-propulsion Navy 6.0s, they are just very well suited for the low speeds that our boat is designed for. And so we plow right through the water at the cost of sunshine. Now, we don't have that wind gust because we removed our mast, and so we have no sailing apparatus whatsoever. I would, similar to like what Aaron's talking about, would love to have an alternative form of propulsion for when
Absolutely.
there's bad storms or when it's nighttime and I want to keep going. And so things like sail kites or things like alternative forms of capturing wind. I've been so discouraged by my negaholic friends here on our chat. We talk about all these different ideas that we have through the week. And one of them has been me going, well, what about wind turbines? And Patrick and Aaron both are like very discouraging. I would call it like rude. They're just rude about the wind in the form of wind turbines. But then I
Yeah.
go and I look and I'm like, crap, but they're right again.
No,
Like,
don't do that. Like, try.
oh,
like I know, like another buddy of ours, Vlad, right? He is pro wind turbine, pro, and I'm
yeah.
like, okay, go try it. Go
Do
out
it.
there and do it,
Go
and
do it. Prove me wrong.
bring back the data, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not the type of person like a lot of people are out there that if somebody goes and tries something and it works, in the face of them showing me that it's working, I'm not going to tell them it doesn't work. Like a lot of people do that. I'm going to say, wow, that's cool. How do I adapt it to what I'm doing? There was also one thing before we go on to the next thing, Jason. I wanted to to mention that I didn't mention anything about solar power and battery banks for our vessel. We're planning on adding that too, so that will also decrease the cost of the diesel, because right now we have a generator, and I'd love to get rid of that at some point, and be able to run solely on the sun like these guys do. But I'm gonna have to. I'm thinking, Jason says not so much, but I'm thinking that I'm going to have to scale up a little bit because I have a bigger platform.
Huge.
But yeah, but I'm not to the point where I'm going to be running propulsion on solar. I'm happy right now just to run the hotel or the house as an experiment for now. Like if you can show me that I'm going to be able to do that.
Oh, brother, that's just your hotel only. Solar's done. Patrick, tell him, like he'll listen to you. Tell him.
I do think every boat should be a hybrid, so I think maybe there should be one electric motor that you can dip in the water and get free movement, just for the hell of it.
Absolutely. I mean, if I can run the house and eventually run a hybrid system where I'm the guy here between us three. I'm the guy here that's basically saying I don't totally trust solar and electric yet to be my primary, and I'm proud to say that, to be my primary source of propulsion. I want to just dip my toes in first and get the hybrid approach, and then prove that concept to myself that it will work, and then maybe somewhere down the line go full.
But that's what I'm saying. For your house loads alone, oh man, just your pilot house covered in solar will take care of that. Like, unless you guys are going absolutely bonkers, like you're gonna be fine. If you're running an electric heater for that entire beast, you're never will your solar be enough.
So secretly, and I'm proud to say this too, but some people may say we're crazy. We haven't run the heat in our house in probably 20 years.
Oh, let's go.
Ever. We don't have any other heating things. Like in the past 20 years, we have a little space heater just to make sure that the birds are taken care of. And we've run that twice in 20 years. So
he said he runs heater for the birds.
Yeah. And I mean, so when we built out our boat, I have 4 inches of insulation in the walls, right? So we overdid it so that we don't have to do these kind of things. So that definitely is a huge, like, makes me happy to hear that motivation that I'll be able to run. Like I'm not an extravagant guy. We're going to be running the same few things that these guys are running, just on a bigger platform.
No doubt that your solar will be more than adequate. You're going to find that you have so much solar, you're going to have to make up ways to use it.
That's a good thing. All right.
All right, let's look at our totals here, Patrick, because we're so long-winded today. You got us started with insurance. I'm going to blame you.
We'll try and make it quicker for the next section.
Here we go. We have totals. Look at those totals.
Yeah, very reasonable. And now you must remember, we don't have rent costs. So this is kind of our rent cost over here. And I don't know anyone else who pays sort of in the $500-600 a month.
Zero Americans
live a good life.
Zero Americans do that.
Well, I mean,
God, I don't even know if the homeless can get away with that.
You can't even get a studio apartment for this in South Florida. Sadly, it's maybe double or triple that.
You can do it in Europe either in a capital. You can do it in a tiny little village somewhere. But
what a shame.
All right, here we go. Next slide. We're going to living expenses. This one has more categories, but Patrick promised he's going to zip us through this one.
Yeah, let's go quick. There's some provisions. Basically, anytime you walk into a grocery store, you're provisioning. Whether you're buying cleaning stuff or you're buying food, you are buying provisions. So let's jump to the numbers. This is our actual numbers. So we've kept track of every time we go into a grocery store. So this is the average that we've spent over 12 months, which I think is very reasonable. But
you guys
this is like what things cost in Europe, A bottle of wine, a good bottle of wine is like $6. beef is somewhere between $10 and $15 a kilogram, or half pound, sorry, 2 pounds. What else do we spend? I
Wow.
mean, things are not very expensive in Europe, but salaries are also low in Europe. So that's the other
Yeah.
side of the coin.
Wow. Aaron.
Um, I think that I could take this number and decrease it. Right now, I'm basing it on like land cost for provisioning. um, our daughter is going to graduate high school, so we're going to have one less body that's using provisions in our household. I think that I can get this cost down, but it's probably padded a little bit. um, but yeah, I mean, if I can get down to 500 a month, or like 431 a month, sounds unbelievable to me. But
Unreal.
I mean,
Yeah.
it is what it is. But yeah, I
Yeah.
guess
Our
everything costs more here.
our numbers are definitely on the high end on purpose, because I was like, I'm gonna err this on the upside, and I think probably we're gonna eat out more whenever we're on the boat, at least at the beginning, as we get out to these different stops and we're like, oh, let's go look at this town. Oh, let's look at this town. It's going to be a whole lot of let's go enjoy. That's what we like to do, is look at
Yeah,
beautiful scenery, have nice food, and look at a beautiful sunset repeat. That sounds amazing. I would love that.
yeah,
But
but
with restaurants here in the States, my goodness, you are paying out your ears for that. And so, will we eat on board quite a bit? Sure. So I erred on the side of overestimating here for sure. But I feel happy with the numbers that I put down.
yeah. So I mean, going back to what I was saying, because I'm listening to these guys talk, and then I think of, oh wow, that's another thing. So I mean, I'm a chef by trade. That's what I did in my other life. So most of the we eat in most of the time. We eat out once a week. Like, that's our thing. That's our family thing. We eat out on like a Friday night as a family. Um, but all of the rest of the meals we're eating, in house. I'm cooking, or Shara's cooking, or my daughter's cooking, and we're eating in house. And out on the boat, I think we're going to be doing that for the most part too. I'm a homebody, right? So for the most part, I think we're going to be eating on the boat with raw ingredients that we cook. So yeah,
Now, I do have an episode from our July trip where we caught crab right off the boat and then boiled those up. If I can find a steady source of crab,
you're
I will
good.
change my numbers dramatically.
Yeah, because you're happy with that, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
and
Patrick,
for
talk to me about entertainment.
Yeah, let's jump on. So entertainment, I've actually put our restaurant visits into entertainment, but a lot of our entertainment, because we're on a boat, is around the boat, So if you would usually pay to go to the beach, or you'd pay to go and do some water sports, or you'd pay to go on a boat trip, that's kind of life for us. So we don't have that expense. So entertainment for us is mostly restaurants, and Candice and I love going for coffee dates every morning, and that's built into that price as well. But that's pretty much where it ends. Occasionally, we'll need to pay to go into a monument or into a museum or something along the route, but it's minimal compared to eating out, which is about once a week on average for us.
yeah, interesting. So my my eating out is basically like I said, once a week, and we're not extravagant people. So I'm gonna try to keep my cost there. Might creep up a little, but it's not gonna be high every month. So yeah, I mean, we're simple guys and
Hmm.
gals.
And for
We
us,
see.
we usually are looking at, cost of admission for something. And a lot of these towns are not set up that way. Like, it's not a tourist attraction type of a thing. We're looking at smaller towns mostly. But then there are some towns, like we'll be in Baltimore, we'll be in New York. Those are extravagantly priced. And so on an average, I think it'll balance out there. Let's go to travel.
Well, see the numbers. So travel for us is going home, basically back to South Africa, or if we have to rent a car. So last year I rented a car for 49 days, and it averaged probably about $8 or $9 a day to rent a car.
Oh
But I
my.
also I've got a car rental insurance policy that's an annual policy that I keep, which makes car rentals really cheap for me. And so that's built into this price as well as fuel and tolls and anything like that. But remember, I don't have a car at home. There's no car I'm paying for every month. So this is where that goes. And I've also included a flight back home. So
Yeah, wow. All right, so our basically we don't really travel too much. We gave up flying on planes after COVID. So we haven't really gone anywhere traveling wise since COVID on a plane. Um, yeah, I mean, we're simple people. Hopefully, we can carry this over into life on the water, life on the boat, or maybe I'm dreaming.
I don't know. It's one of those things that you're going to figure out as you go for sure.
Yep.
We put down travel in the sense of we do have our grandson, and then we also have our daughter and her husband, and they are very far apart. So the idea of docking the boat and getting a rental car and going to see them is very likely. But outside of that, like we just did our big bucket list Europe trip. We've done our Hawaii bucket list trip. A lot of our bucket list trips that involve getting on a plane and going somewhere have been checked off. Now, that doesn't mean we're never going to go travel anymore, but at least for predicting an annual or a monthly, I mean, I think this is looking pretty decent for us. Let's go to communications.
Cell phones and internet basically is all we do.
Easy.
So we're lucky cell phones are cheap. It's like $8 a month each for like 9 gigs and unlimited phone calls. And internet has just been Starlink. So it was $72 a month. Sorry, 72 euros a month, so about $80. Unfortunately, it's going up now to about $100. But I can get unlimited internet for $14 on 4G, but it doesn't work in every single anchorage. And we always like to be connected. So Starlink, look, I think it's a bargain for what you get. I mean, 5 years ago, you'd pay thousands of dollars for the same thing, or in fact, for something much, much worse. But
Yeah.
that's what we spend. I'm happy to spend it. Yeah.
Yeah. So for us, basically, Starlink and cell phones is communication for us. Like Patrick mentioned, Starlink is not terribly expensive for what you get. I mean, it's actually relatively cheap. Like, think about it. You can stay. Like, I always am enamored with the how quickly technology is moving. Like, there was there was a technology, a system that you could use to connect um, onto the internet on the water, over the water, offshore. And just a couple of years ago, that was like thousands a month, extremely expensive. And now you got something like a Starlink, and it's, I don't know, it's like 125 bucks a month. It's cheap, um, like unlimited everything. And remember, Patrick's probably cringing over there. He's like 125. Yeah, that's that because we live in the U.S. So everything seems to be substantially higher here. But $125 a month for unlimited internet while you're on the water to stay connected and feel like home, so to speak, um, is well worth it for me.
Yeah, same here. It's the Starlink, but it's also and phone, but it's also I did a balance between the entertainment and the communications with things like services. So, for example,
Right.
Apple um, Plus or whatever that is, the service fee for that. You do get some entertainment out of that, but it's also still communications. So I struggled with where to put that. But yeah, between entertainment and communications, I think you've got all of that.
Yep.
Miscellaneous is that one junk drawer of them all, right? Like the
Oh,
worst possible topic.
yeah.
I mean, ours wasn't too bad. It's for random things you spend it. But for us, it was the dogs. We've got dogs. A lot of people don't have dogs, so our dog spending goes into miscellaneous and
Yeah.
little bits and pieces. But the dogs are the majority of that there. So
Yeah. So we
they're
have
getting
dogs.
older, 13 years old, unfortunately. But we love them.
Oh,
Yeah, so on ours, I call the miscellaneous the slush fund, so to speak. It's where you put stuff that you don't know where, no place else, or you don't know where to put it.
yeah, I want
So
it.
yeah, we have 5 parrots and 2 dogs, so um, we take care of them like they're our kids. So yeah, I mean, I put that there. Um, there's some other stuff that I put there. Then when I was talking about this with Shara last night, she's like, miscellaneous? What's that? So, that's whatever you want it to be. It's just
Share's like, I want access to that one.
yeah, it's just maybe we could focus on bringing that down some as we go, or maybe some of the other things that we're not even thinking about are going to go into the miscellaneous fund that are going to creep
Yeah.
up. They're going to go in there that become
Well,
more.
and for mine, I mean, I didn't know where to put things like hair care, and you can tell, like that's all me. Hair care is a thing, right? Like I have to take care of that bald head.
Yeah.
No, my wife's, for hair salon stuff, and also just so many things that fit in a normal land-based budget that didn't have room here. So I was like, throw it in miscellaneous, and
Yeah.
that's why ours is so high. But it's more of those little extraneous things that you're like, well, I'll put it there. Now we get
Yes.
into the creme de la creme. I'm glad we saved the worst for last. Thanks for that, Patrick.
I don't know. Should we put the numbers up? Yeah. So these are my actuals, and remember, everything we've been talking about has been actuals, but this is the actual healthcare spending for myself and my wife last year, with the big caveat that we are European residents, and European residents don't pay for healthcare. If you want to do your standard healthcare type stuff, you've got your house doctor, you go and see them, you don't pay for that. I was unfortunate enough last year. I ended up in a hospital. In fact, I ended up in two hospitals. I had a 2 hour ambulance ride between. There was ICU time, there was ward time, and I walked out of the hospital and I didn't have a bill. They said, "Thank you very much. I hope you feel better soon." And I left, and that was it. And it's one of the things about Europe that I think is sort of one of the most exceptionally good things is that a health emergency is a health emergency. It's not a financial emergency as well. And
That's beautiful.
I don't see why the rest of the world doesn't do that. Um, you shouldn't have to suffer because you are less wealthy
Suffering.
or anything like that. Everyone needs the same sort of healthcare. Yeah. Anyway, I'll
Uh,
stop there.
no, that's beautiful. I know it's jumping to Aaron, but I just want to say we're glad that you made it through that. And I know that that was a scary, challenging time. And I love what you said there about, what I took away there at the end was just when you're suffering, you shouldn't have to suffer more. And yet that's such a foreign concept for us here in the States. As you'll see,
Yeah.
for Aaron and myself, I put the dice emojis in the magic 8 ball because it was like here in the States, you're just kind of left to I don't know how this is going to shake down. I'm probably going to be in the poorhouse now because I got a cough.
Yep.
And I'm all for, professionals such as doctors making money off of their services. That's fine. They do a valuable thing. They deserve a valuable prize at the end. But it's the insurance companies that are driving it so prohibitively expensive that it's beyond that because they're taking such a massive cut of their own and they don't do jack diddly squat for us. And you can fight me over that because really, if I were to just chunk away the amount that I have to put toward a premium
Yep.
into an account within very short time, I'm
Mm.
going to be able to cover if it was a cash based. And when you go to negotiate a cash settlement with your health provider, the cost difference is astronomical.
Yep.
Whereas if you go through your insurance, you're paying 10 times more.
You're paying the
And
insurance rate. Yeah.
yeah, and that just shows you're getting this Godfather movie type experience of a middleman who's sitting there just getting fat off of the exchange and doing nothing for you but threatening to drop your coverage
Mm.
or jack up your premiums. It's not even and jack up your premiums to even worse states. So
Yep.
Aaron and
Mm.
I, we went with that because we're both here in the States. And so when you look at our actual prediction, it's the same. But
Yep.
Aaron, I'll leave the last word on healthcare to you.
Yeah. So I mean, I like what Patrick said. It should be like you should be focused on healing, not focused on like having a financial um, destruction. If you have to go to the hospital, like what he was just describing there,
Sounds
somebody.
humane.
Yeah, I mean, we have copays here, and even when you have insurance, you have to pay what's called a copay, which means I guess you're sharing you're sharing the cost with the insurance company, even though you pay a premium, which
Right.
the whole thing doesn't make much sense to me. The whole
It's
insurance,
extortion.
how it's all structured. But I mean, that would have cost a lot of money for somebody here.
Oh, you'd be just debilitated
Yeah,
if you're
I mean,
indebted.
I'm self-employed, and we're paying about $1,300 a month here. And you know, it's like you're paying a penalty because you're self-employed, and I don't have a group program or a group rate. I'm just a self-employed guy with a small business.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to do something different because we're going to be traveling around. So we're going to have to look into some kind of traveler's insurance, or there is some kind of insurances where you can group up with other people that are also doing the same thing, and you basically share the premium costs. Because whether it's for real or we're brainwashed, you kind of have to have an insurance. Or like Jason said, you can be self-insured, but the thought of that kind of scares me, because one little episode here and you're
It's
destroyed.
all gone.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like we don't have public health care. But there's pros and cons, right, to that argument. We don't have public health care here, so we have to pay. But yeah.
I'm having a hard time seeing some of the cons at this point, because the alternative that we're facing is unsustainable. Like this,
So
if this is the antithesis to that, this is not sustainable.
so
And I'm not wanting to make any kind of political statement there. I'm just telling you the facts of an American on a regular, normal human lifestyle. Like, we're not living in a McMansion.
no.
We're sitting here as two teachers. My wife's retiring, I'm resigning, and we're looking at that topic right there, healthcare, being the number one biggest prohibitant to any kind of a let's go and enjoy the rest of our
Yeah.
lives kind of
And
a
that's
thing.
sad.
And that shouldn't be how it is.
No, that's sad. I mean, Patrick, so the only con that I see, so some people say, oh, well, you're not getting the same level of care. Well, that's BS, because there's a lot of American doctors, if they're, the pinnacle of the pinnacle, that if we use that, they're working in Europe. The only con that I've ever
American
heard is,
doctors blame it all on allergies. That's the number one thing. Allergy, here's your pill.
well, the only con that I've ever heard is that it takes longer, like to get care. If you have like a critical issue and you need care, sometimes you have to like schedule an appointment, and you can't just. But now you just said you went to the emergency room and it was all good. So
Yeah.
what?
No waiting, just walked in. They did a whole bunch of tests.
We're
Then I
being
waited
sold
for
a
the
bill of
test
goods,
results. That's
Jason.
all. Yeah.
Oh,
We're being
it's
But I
sold.
did.
garbage. Garbage.
There
It's
are some
complete
private doctors in
extortion
there.
is
So
what it is.
we saw private doctors a few times just because it was convenient, and specialists because we were in Greece and not where we registered in Portugal. So when we wanted non-urgent things, we went to a doctor. So a doctor's visit is about $70 to $80 here, and a
Yeah.
specialist is about $110 to $120. And medication, a month's worth of medication is about $20 for me. So
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
and
And I mean,
that's
people
not
would
effective.
maybe respond and say, "No, Walt, you got an out-of-pocket max. You have like $7,500." And how do they do that here in the States? Oh, you're approaching your out-of-pocket maximum. Good for you. We're now
Deductibles
going to delay your care
the next year.
until as far into the year as we can, so that it'll spill over to next year, where now we can trigger the next out-of-pocket max. So it's all a
Yep.
game, and it's really inappropriate in a
Yeah.
place that is like, what is the Hippocratic Oath again? Shall we revisit that? It's not okay. But that said, let's wrap up with our totals, because for hell or high water, my wife and I are doing this because this is a bucket list trip and we're going to make it happen. But here are our totals, and they are what they are. Look at those European numbers. Patrick, take
Yep.
it away.
Yeah, I mean, look, these are actual numbers. So we budgeted for more, and the cost just ended up being a little bit less. So we're quite fortunate. But $1,400, 1,200 euros a month for living costs is what it is, and that's more or less what we spent on land as well. So those haven't really changed.
Yeah.
Aaron.
I mean, if I could get to this, I'd be ecstatic.
Right.
Right. I mean, this is the dream for us. Basically, we're moving out there to decrease costs and also have an amazing experience, um, and be able to bring our house with us, so to speak.
Yeah. Well,
So
let me
that's
just go on record as saying I love the United States of America. I've lived here my whole life. I'm a a citizen here, and it's not like I'm disgruntled here. I know political things bounce here and there and everywhere,
yep.
and I don't get too caught up or agitated by that. And I'm also not anti-European. I feel like a lot of my countrymen, they get so in love with the US that they're like, every other place is terrible. I'm like, no, it's not. There are great humans who live over there too. Have you ever gone to say hi to them? Go say hi. They're nice.
Yeah.
Just not in Rome on public transportation. They're a bunch of pickpockets. Now, that said, let's go to our grand totals here. So we've got Electra with drum roll. Blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah. Look at that, under 2,000 US. That's incredible.
not bad. Yeah. And sustainable for us, which is great. So I don't have to stress now that I'm out of the job, which is fantastic.
Love it. Aaron at Extraordinary Horizons, looking at
Yep.
over double.
Yeah. I mean,
That's the US tax, baby.
that, like, I have $1,000 a month for insurance, where Patrick has a couple $100 or so, $100 a month. So
I'm going to stop calling it the US tax. I'm going to call it the Blue Cross Blue Shield tax.
I have Blue Cross Blue Shield as well. I mean,
There you go.
they're collecting from both of us. Yeah, I mean,
Screw them.
if I could
All right, they're probably good people who work there. I'll take it back.
Yeah, there are good people that work there. They're just going along for
Just
the
work for
ride.
extortionists.
Right. I mean, I think that I can get my costs down a little bit more in some areas, hopefully in the insurance areas. So, yeah, I mean, go
Well,
on.
for here on Soul Seeker, we've also got 4510. Again, that was estimating high on a couple of things, but it's pretty close to what I'm projecting for. And so, as such, I'll be looking for a little bit of remote work if I can find it, but we're going to be fine either way, from consolidating things and
Yeah.
rolling it all together and go, can we make it for a year? Yes, we can make it for a year.
Yeah.
Hell, we can make it for 10 years. But
Yep.
bottom line is the time is now. And for us, our decision rests firmly in why wait until you have an episodic event that limits your ability to go and do this type of thing, and then you
Absolutely.
regret it. I don't want to wait for that. I want to go ahead and just, we'll see how we do with this, and we're going to be okay in the process. Let's go to Patrick's final thoughts, and then we'll go
Yeah.
from there.
So, I mean, a lot of people ask me how we afford boat life, but as you've seen, it's actually cheaper to live on a boat for us than it is to live on land. And that makes sense in Europe because rents are relatively high in Europe and salaries are relatively low. So, my big question is, how do people afford to live on land?
Yeah.
Very good. Aaron, you'll have the final word today. I'll respond to that. I find that I'm not able to afford to continue living on land. It's getting more and more where I'm priced out of it, and I'm not
Silly.
I'm not in the lower brackets of financial reality. Neither am I in the high end of financial realities. I'm right there in the middle of the middle. And what I've found is over the years that has become stretched more and more and more to where there is less and less and less of a middle. And there's a whole lot of those who can't and those who make sure they can't and don't care about whether or not they can. And so that's interesting because I'm excited to move aboard, not strictly for the journey, although the journey is the primary motivation, but also I'm enticed by the fact that this looks like if you can stay at anchor most of the time, this is going to be a lot cheaper. And so I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Aaron, final word.
So,
Final thoughts.
so same with us. I mean, same with us. The next phase of the journey or the adventure is definitely looking bright. Like, this is a dream, right? It's to move to move on and have some more, financial freedom, time freedom. That's what it's all about, right? Because we only live here once, and you got to do it now. Don't wait. And that's pretty much. I'll keep it short. That's pretty much it for me.
Fantastic. Well, folks, thank you for listening in. If you've made it this far, I want to encourage you to hit subscribe, like, comment, share, all the things for Sailing Electra, Extraordinary Horizons, and Soul Seeker. We really value the engagement in the form of connection. And yes, the engagement is all engagement's good, but we really want you to connect and share your own stories, share your own thoughts, share your own perspectives, even if you're calling us out for what we've pitched out here as our projections, especially Aaron. Call him out all you want. He can take it. He just loves it. Patrick, for just, having cheaper expenses, just call him out for that. Just for that all by itself. But in all seriousness, Aaron, do you have the topic for next week that you want to share now, or are you keeping that close to the cuff?
No, I don't have it yet for anybody.
Okay, well,
I'm not
stay
revealing.
tuned, because next week is going to be a good one. And the following week is usually, it's with it being the 5th weekend, we reserve those with our realignment from last year. So we do our special guest episodes the first weekend of the month, and then we do an episode that I've picked the topic, episode that Aaron's picked the topic, episode where Patrick's picked the topic. And so next week is Aaron's, but the one after that is our mystery topic. And it's no longer a mystery. It's where we're all three of us going to share the 2026 adventures that we have planned. Now, some of us have more clear ideas of what we're doing than the others. And so you may hear very detailed plans from some and less detailed plans from others, and that's fine. We're all gonna have our own adventures this year, but tune in not just next week for Aaron's topic, but the following week to hear all three of us sharing our upcoming year and the adventures we're planning to have. So without any further ado, let's have Patrick send us out.
Thanks for watching.